Hello and welcome to Networking at Scale. My name is Rajiv Krishnamurthy. I'm a director of engineering at Meta. I've spent 20 years in the networking industry, and most of the initial years were spent on the physical side of the network. The last few years, and also at Meta, I have been focused on the host networking stack, and that has given me a deeper appreciation of what it takes to build a network that services global applications. Networking at Scale is a conference for network enthusiasts, operators, and engineers. We hope that you can, through this conference, hear directly from operators of some of the largest networks in the world. The previous edition of Networking at Scale, which was held earlier this year, was focused on the transport stack. Specifically, we talked about three technologies: TCP, RDMA, and QUIC. Now, based on the phenomenal response that we got from all of you, we decided to hold a second conference. And that brings us to today. So keeping with the theme of three, for this conference and this edition of Networking at Scale, we have three themes. The first one is focused on the data center. The second one is on the WAN. And then the third one is around operations. Specifically, we're going to talk about metrics and network SLIs, and I'm sure you'll find that really exciting. Now let's do a deep dive on what are the trends that we are observing in the data center. Over the past 10 years, there are basically two major trends that have driven the design of the data center. On the physical side, it has been the rise of merchant silicon, and accordingly, we have seen the rise of non-blocking architectures. On the software side, it's mainly been the rise of software-defined networking and a huge focus on automation. So what are the trends that we are seeing for the next 10 years? Now, through this conference, we'll be covering basically three trends that we are observing and give you more insights. The first big trend is around scale. Nothing new over there, but the big change over here is the magnitude of the scale. A good way to wrap your head around that would be looking at the power envelope. As the hyperscalers are constructing new data centers, the unit of construction is a building. And that's typically tens of megawatts. And that's mind-boggling. The second big trend in the data center that we will cover is the rise of AI, HPC, and ML applications, and the significant portion of our data center bandwidth is being consumed by these applications. So what are the challenges in supporting, honestly, what is a finicky application and making it coexist with our existing web traffic and the other legacy applications in the data center? The last theme or last trend within the data center that we will be talking about has got to do, or rather is a direct consequence of the first two trends that we're observing, which was scale and the rise of specific AI, ML applications in traffic. This has got to do with managing the complexity. A good way to think about this is painting of the Golden Gate Bridge, right? You start from one end, and then by the time you reach the other end of the Golden Gate Bridge, it's taken so much time that you have to start all over again. Now, the same trend applies to data centers, and this is observed through the never-ending cycle of retrofits that we have. So while we are bringing online these next generation data centers, we have to retrofit the older technologies. So this results in a heterogeneous environment which has got multiple generations of hardware, architectures, technology, software, which is a pretty complex solution or a complex problem to solve. And we'll cover that a little bit in our conference. So that was theme one, data centers. Theme two of the conference has got to do with the WAN. Specifically, we'll talk about the backbone, which is the network that connects our data centers together, and also the edge, which is the network through which the end users are accessing the applications that are hosted on the data center. The big trend in the WAN has obviously been capacity. What is causing this rise in this insatiable demand for capacity? It's trends such as the rise of the creator economy, short form videos, and also hybrid work. All of these trends are causing us to require to build out a lot more capacity. So how have the hyperscalers typically responded to this? Basically, they have purpose-built networks that are highly resilient, highly available, and highly elastic. And these are dedicated networks. So we'll talk about the latest trends in optical backbone network technologies. And on the software side, we'll talk about what does it take to build and operate a global network that has to be highly elastic and address these demands in capacity and the challenges in making this whole environment stable. The last theme of the conference is going to be around operations, and as I mentioned, it will be focused on network SLIs and metrics. Now, traditional network SLIs and metrics have been around packet drops, jitter, latency. Now, these are great. They give you a good insight into what is happening in the network, but not a whole lot of information as to what is happening on the application side. And this becomes a more critical problem as you go deeper into the network. So what have the traditional solutions been? Traditionally, we have thrown capacity on the physical network side, and on the application side, it has been instrumenting the application code to give us some kind of insights. And that has also been problematic because you typically don't see that information. It's not easily accessible to the network operators. We have some interesting talks that talk about new network SLIs and new metrics that will give a better understanding of what is happening in the application space. And we'll also talk about technologies that help you build these tools quickly and easily, which are mainly relying on eBPF frameworks. Finally, we have a live Q&A where you can ask questions directly from our presenters and clarify any doubts that you may have. With that, I hope that you have a lot of fun and enjoy the conference as we on the organizing team have had putting this together. I'll now hand it off to Tanuja, who's going to be your chaperone and MC and shepherd you through the rest of the conference. Thank you.